This is a Sikha printed in the Chiluch of Beis. It's Behar Bechukosai Sikha, page 159. Rebbe said the Sikha in 1980. Aleph. Matschain viel Molginet wegen Sidrei Sambechubaris, als von dem was mis Zimchaber al Efen as a vert in ein Sedra, mentioned previously, when two Sedras, two readings are combined. So the fact that they are connected and are considered one Sedra means to tell Beta Sedras of Blaze Shivakruim, or noch mehr mis mechaber dem Seif von dem ersten Sedra und der Scholle von der zweiten Sedra in ein Aliyah mit derselbe Bracha lefano Bracha lachara. Now, the Rebbe says that the fact that the two readings are divided into 7 Aliyahs, like all readings, moreover, the psukim that would otherwise be the end of the first Torah reading and the beginning of the second are included together in one Aliyah with one bracha recited before and recited afterwards. Therefore, Lochach has beide Sidres haben in sich an der Kudem B'Shutefes v'teichel was darfar ken sie neschaber werden. So it's obviously evident that these two readings share a common theme that joins them together and enables them to be have the same teichen. And that's why you can connect the two parshas. Darf verstehen, was ist in der Kudem B'Shutefes von die Sidres Behar Bechukosai. So what is the common theme between the parshas of Behar and Bechukosai? On the contrary, bald we get come from as a Shem Eslim Lamas Erteichen, will the die nehmen Behar and Bechukosai bring a raise a verkehrte Teichen. And you look at it at first glance, as we know the names of every parsha shows in the theme of the parsha. So the Behar and Bechukosai have conflicting messages. Why? Behar, we're saying Behar is on the mountains. Oif Abark, on the mountain. Vais Eif Hagba. So that emphasizes on elevating oneself. Was an Aveda Ruchnes meint is, was a Yid darf sich lefamim fear mit der Breitkeit in a Tekef. So what that means in Aveda is that every Yid, that this Yid has to conduct himself in a way of being very sure of himself and this inner strength. As it says that he lifting up his heart in the ways of Hashem. Es kommt zu einer saying, darf sich stellen mit der Starkheit und Azus nicht dispel werden und beistehen dem saying Askenehmer. For example, when confronted by a challenge, a person has to stand, have strength and fearlessness, making sure to overcome any challenge, showing, like the Shulchan says, Askanamer, be bold as a leopard. So that's Behar. Behar shows on a mountain, it shows on Akva, shows on you have to have very confident. You can't be shaken down by anybody. However, when you look at Bechukosai, meaning that we're talking about observing any chukim, is verbunden und fordert bittul. That requires self-nullification. Chukim is min mekayim derfar, as chukim chakakti zer gzarti. As we know, why are we fulfilling the chukim? It's because Hashem said, I instituted this statute, and I pronounced the decree, and elach reshus la'achara. You have no permission to even think about or question this while you're doing it. And this is why Hashem commanded us to obey, even though we don't understand the rationale behind them, and more so, even if they appear to run contrary to logic and to reason. So the Rebbe is asking in Aleph. Obviously, Behar and Bechukosai, when they're together, they obviously share a common theme. Behar shows on mountains, shows on his nasu, shows on being very, very confident, not being nispal. And Mashenki in the Chukim, Bechukosai, that shows on, that's connected on Bittul, the exact opposite of Hagbah. So how do these two names, how do these two names coincide, and how do they have a common theme? Base. But let's verstehen back to my beer in the Shem Masada Rishena, like Minig Yisrael, was Teda is Behar. Understand as we're first explaining the name of the parsha, which means, as you know, Minig Yisrael, we call it Parshas Behar, the mountain. Cher is not moved, it's understood. The Iker had Gosh is doch, Lechera, in the word Sinai. Seemingly, the main theme of the parsha, or the idea, is the idea of a mountain, Sinai. The Oisketelte Barg of Velchas is gegeben geworden der Torah, which means this is the chosen mountain that Hashem gave the Torah. Hat man darf auch noch von den Sedren mit dem Namen Sinai, oder Akabonen Bahar Sinai, wie mir gefunden bei noch Sedres, also der Name is von zwei Wörter. Now, if the main theme of this parsha is the idea of the mountain, so l'cha'ira, it should be called either Parshas Har or Parshas Behar Sinai. Why are we calling it Behar? He passed the name Behar was Zoknit Vegen Velcha Har Esretzach. So why are we calling it Parshas Behar when it doesn't specify the mountain which it refers to? The Shalim noch starker wenn wir et wegen der Hida, wegen der Hida, and Avedis Hashem, was man darf erase never von Har Sinai. Now, this question is like reinforced when you want to think about the lesson in Avedis Hashem. Chazal sagen, as the time was man hat ausgeklebt in dem Har Sinai darf gezegem im Detail, as well makich mikol Turaya. Is niedriger von alle Berg, was das truckt in sich adaver v'yipuche. Now, Chazal tell us, as we know, why are we calling it Har Sinai? We call it Har Sinai is because as it says, it was smaller than all the other mountains. Now, this explanation, the Cha'ira, is a dumb rifuch. It's paradoxical. Why? But ein Zeit weist es darf sein Schiflos, makich. Aber for the zweite Zeit is Eich Sinai Ahar. Now, on the one hand, you're telling us the importance of the humility. You have to makich, you have to hold yourself small. On the other hand, although Har Sinai was the smallest mountain, it was still a mountain, which is raised over the surrounding area. Val, Aval Pias is Monsich von Ayin the Trof and Shiftless. Yes, you have to have humility. There's the design and even from the Zolvern as Askufan addresses. So yes, you have to be, one has to show humility. On the other hand, you shouldn't be like a doorstep on which others tread upon. Or Shazam, there's Shiftless, as an Atrof and take of his lasses. But it has to be together with the humbleness. It has to also exhibit strength and self-assurance, as explained above. Die zwei Inyanim seien der Chilek zwischen die zwei Wörter Behar und Sinai. These two concepts reflect the difference between the two words Behar and Sinai. Behar weist auf Isnasus v'teika v'on. Behar shows on a person's self-assurance and inner strength. Mashegen Sinai allein nicht unterstreichen dabei als das letzte wegen Behar. Weiß if Inyan Abitel Sinai Shem HaSneh, or Sneh is Shafa, we call it Shabbat Elam. Now, Sinai is in and of itself, yes, we're speaking about a mountain, but it reflects Bittel. Sinai is from the word of Sneh, meaning a thorn bush, which is the lowest tree in the world. As the woman has from the Tzvei Inyanim, Hakbah Bittel, is the Ika Maila Bittel. Now, when you have the two, these two mottos of self-assurance and self-nullification, Bittel is the primary importance. Der bei Bewortmen, as the Stornet sein Bittel, Kaskof and addresses durch jeder Fuss. But what is this telling us? Yes, the person has to be Bittel, has to be Bittel, but he should not be like a doorstep on which everyone treads upon. Or if it was not true, and take it back, Balafam. Come on, Chazal, a Tam Chacham darf haben, Echel Bishmeina, Shbishminis. Mashminis, von Gaiba, or nicht mehr Chas V'Shalom. Now, as Chazal say, a Talmud Chacham has to have an eighth, no more of pride. Heid, wie passt zu Anruf, and they said them with the Namen Behar, allein Blei Zachbon, is los in the Iker, Nisina Bittel. Now, if the Rebbe is saying that you have to have Har, but the main thing is Sinai, that you have to have Bittel, but the Bittel has to come with some sort of pride, not to let people step on you. Why wouldn't you call the Parsha, Parshas Behar Sinai, Parshas Sinai? Gimel. And for the Biyudim, but one of the explanations is as follows. The Avodah from Bittel, Shifos Adam, is voran with Gadlus Sakel. As bottle, filled as the emes and Metzius from alt is a Likus. This Bittel stems from a person recognizing the greatness of Hashem. A person is bottle because he is conscious that the truth of all beings is Alikus' godliness. When their fire is the emes Bittel, when the head of Metzius is as if Azay feel, is mefilled a feeling it as me is bottle. While thus allein was mefilled as me is mevatel. For an Eberstein is a bavais as his not dod ametzias was starved bottle bird. Then mehalt by bitl amiti is a neat magish feeling kin zaf risalikus. Now, a person reaches true bitl when his lack of consciousness of self is so complete that he's not even aware that he's bottle. For the feeling that a person is nullifying before himself to Hashem is a sign that he sees himself as a Metzias in need of becoming bottle. Now, a person who has real bittul feels nothing other than Hashem. Das spiegelt sich up in Halacha and Nigla D'Tira. This concept is reflected also in Nigla D'Tira. Washen gerät amol barucha in dem Chilek zwischen an Eved und Ashliach. As Choshluch schon Kemese, was das ist Kel, Eker der Hechstei, Finishliches, as Shel Bechukosai, where in the Metzius HaMashiach, we spoke about many times, it's a difference in Allah between a servant and a Shliach. They're both performing the actions of the Mashaliach. Now, either both performing the actions of the Mashaliach, but nevertheless, there's a fundamental difference between the two. So again, as Chod Shul Kamais was not just Kolel, even in Shlichus, as a Shter Bechukosai, where the Mitzvah Mashaliach, we said many times that according, the famous Rebbeis of Engel, at the highest level of Shlichus, Shul Kamais, is that a person who actually carries out the action, he assumes the identity of the actual Mashaliach. The number brings us to be severe. Kidua, as an English Shlichus and Franz, drei Ifanen. As it's known that these three concepts, that there are three conceptions in Shlichus, an agency. The Mashaliach, Gitter, Shul, V'Kem, zum Shliach, zu Ton, die Bulim came, aber die Meister Shlichus is from Messiachas zum Shliach. The Mishaleach gives permission to the Shliach to act in his stead. However, the actions performed is considered as having been carried out by the Shliach. Base. Then you have the Meister is the Messiachas zum Mishaleach, as Heis Asiyas Mishaleach, durch the Mishaleach. Then you have the action itself is considered having been performed by the actual Mishaleach. It's considered his doing, although performed by the Shliach. And then you have Al Gimel as his need, no, der ist ein Shliach. Und sein Kirche am meisten sein sich Messiachas zum Shliach, nur euch. Der Shliach Gufka wird die Metzias am Shliach. Not only does the action the Shliach performed and the power with which he performed the action relate to the Mishaleach, but also the Shliach himself is identified with it becomes the Messias of Mishaleach. So again, you have the Shliach doing the work of the Mishaleach. Who like Kiviyachal gets the credit? Is it the Shliach? That's number one. Is it the Mishaleach? That's number two. And then it's not Shliach Mishaleach. The Mishaleach and the Shliach become one person. Avapi Kain, is trying to obtain the Mishnah from the Mishaleach. Was the fire Zak Mishloch on the Kamese. B'shach to me and Ashlichas, or Nit in Adin and Yonam, I feel B'shach Maisa. And nevertheless, even within the highest concept of Shlichas, it is possible to differentiate between the Shliach and the Mishalech. Therefore, the Gemara says a person applies only in relation to the actual mission and not to other actions, even during the times he's carrying out his mission. So that's the idea of Shlichus. So even the highest level of Shlichus, you only Shlichus in regard to this action, not to somebody else. However, when it comes to a servant, he has no identity of his own. Kol Mitziyosei is the Mitziyos Hadin. His entire being is identified with that of his master. When the fire Mashakana Eved, Alz was the Eved Had, Kana Rabbi. And that's why Halacha says that everything the servant acquires, all his possessions belong to his master. Alashliach is a Mitziyos B'fnei Asmi. Was is sich mevatel zum Mishalech. Und der Lieber ist b'shas sein Bittel bleibt an Ort far sein Messias. Why? Because der Shliach is an independent identity who nullifies himself to the Mishalech. So even by a Shlichus, when he nullifies his identity still remains. Shaken and Ebed darf sich nicht mevatel sein zum Oden. As mechatchil nor rechushe v'kinyoni from the Oden. Or Mele as there came Messias nicht las miklal. A servant doesn't need to nullify himself to his master, because from the very outset, he is basically the property and possession of the master. So, he has no mitzias for himself. He has no identity for himself, because everything is the other. Alright, we'll stop there. Have a good day.
Okay, good.